Blue Moon, 2025, unfolds as an intimate dialogue-driven portrait of Lorenz Hart during the final night of his life set against the backdrop of the triumphant Broadway premiere of Oklahoma, by Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein II. The film opens with a radio announcement reporting Hart's death, immediately framing the story as a tragic recollection. What follows is essentially a long unraveling night inside a New York bar where Hart drinks heavily, performs for those around him, and desperately tries to assert meaning in a life he feels slipping away. Hart is introduced as brilliant but unstable, full of biting humor and self-awareness. He begins the night joking about songwriter techniques, proudly pointing out clever rhymes while simultaneously dismissing his own work with vulgar irreverence. This contradiction defines him. He knows he is gifted, yet he cannot stop undermining himself. His conversations are erratic, jumping from witty observations about films like Casablanca to crude jokes and philosophical reflections about love, art, and mortality. He is both entertaining and exhausting, drawing people in while pushing them away. As the evening progresses, Hart's resentment toward Rodgers becomes increasingly clear. Their legendary partnership, once compared to Gilbert and Sullivan, has ended, and Rodgers' new collaboration is already being celebrated as a groundbreaking success. Hart criticizes Oklahoma, relentlessly calling it simplistic, sentimental, and artistically dishonest. He argues that it panders to audiences rather than challenging them, insisting that true art should provoke discomfort. Yet beneath his intellectual critique lies unmistakable bitterness. He knows the show is a hit and that Rodgers has achieved this success without him. Despite his anger, Hart cannot deny Rodgers' talent. He speaks with genuine admiration about Rodgers' ability to create soaring melodies that seem to defy gravity. This mixture of respect and resentment reveals the complexity of their relationship. Hart feels abandoned, but he also recognizes that Rodgers has moved forward while he remains stuck, unable to adapt to changing tastes in theater. Interwoven with his professional jealousy is his obsession with a young woman named Elizabeth. She becomes the emotional center of his night. Hart describes her in poetic, almost mystical terms, portraying her as a source of inspiration and renewal. He insists that his feelings for her go beyond physical attraction, calling it irrational adoration. To him, she represents a chance to reconnect with something pure and meaningful, a way to escape his cynicism and despair. However, the reality of their relationship is far less romantic. When Elizabeth finally appears, her demeanor is casual and somewhat detached. She accepts his gifts and attention but does not share his intensity. In conversation, she casually reveals her involvement with another man, describing a near-romantic encounter in a way that unintentionally devastates Hart. The moment exposes the imbalance in their relationship. While he has built her into an ideal, she sees him as a charming but aging figure in her life. This revelation does not lead to a dramatic confrontation. Instead, it deepens Hart's internal collapse. He continues to joke, drink, and talk, but his words take on a more desperate tone. He tries to maintain his persona as a witty genius, yet cracks begin to show. His humor becomes more vulgar and erratic, his observations more fragmented. The bar, once a stage for his performance, turns into a space where his illusions slowly disintegrate. Throughout the night, Hart engages with various characters, including bartenders, aspiring artists, and acquaintances. One of the most significant encounters is with E.B. White, whom Hart admires deeply. Their conversation briefly elevates the tone of the film as Hart speaks passionately about language, poetry, and the power of words. He expresses the desire for his work to achieve immortality, to cheat death through art. This moment reveals the core of his identity. He is not just seeking love or recognition, but permanence. At the same time, Hart is painfully aware of his own decline. He jokes about his age, his appearance, and his inability to maintain relationships, but these jokes are thinly veiled confessions. He recognizes that he has moved from youthful promise to being washed up, skipping the stage of fulfillment altogether. His drinking, which he tries unsuccessfully to control, becomes both a symptom and a cause of his deterioration. The film also touches on broader themes through Hart's conversations. He reflects on war, death, and the nature of human existence, often blending humor with bleak insight. His remarks about World War I and the ongoing global conflict suggest a deep disillusionment with humanity. He questions the idea of progress and wonders what meaning can be found in a world marked by suffering and loss. As the night continues, Rodgers eventually appears at the bar. Their interaction is polite but strained. Hart congratulates him on the success of Oklahoma, praising its lyrics and music with exaggerated enthusiasm. Beneath the compliments, however, lies a sense of finality. Rodgers discusses potential future projects and even hints at the possibility of working together again, but the offer feels more like a courtesy than a genuine invitation. Hart responds with forced optimism, masking his awareness that their partnership is truly over. The presence of Rodgers and Hammerstein reinforces Hart's isolation. He is no longer part of the creative world he helped shape. The industry has moved on, embracing a new style and sensibility that he both critiques and cannot replicate. This realization is perhaps the most painful aspect of his decline. Hart and Rodgers reconnecting after years of creative partnership that defined American musical theater. Rodgers, energized and disciplined, is eager to move forward professionally, proposing a revival and new work together. Hart, equally imaginative but far less stable, oscillates between enthusiasm and distraction. Their conversation reveals the core tension between them. Rodgers wants structure, reliability, and emotional sincerity in their work, while Hart is drawn to wit, satire, and grand chaotic ideas. Hart pitches an ambitious, almost absurd musical about Marco Polo filled with satire and spectacle, while Rodgers pushes for stories with emotional depth and relatability. This clash highlights not just artistic differences but deeper personal divides. As the night unfolds, it becomes clear that Rodgers has already found a new creative partner in Oscar Hammerstein II, whose collaboration has resulted in the groundbreaking success of Oklahoma. The show represents everything Hart both admires and resents: emotional sincerity, narrative cohesion, and mass appeal. While audiences and critics celebrate the musical as a triumph, Hart dismisses it as overly sentimental and simplistic, masking his insecurity and fear that his own style is becoming obsolete. The film then shifts into a more introspective mode, following Hart as he wanders through the night, drinking heavily and engaging in conversations that reveal his inner turmoil. He meets friends and acquaintances, including writers and performers, and reflects on his fading relevance, his struggles with alcoholism, and his sense that his best days are behind him. Despite his sharp wit and charm, there is a growing sense of melancholy and self-awareness. Hart recognizes that he is losing control of both his career and his life. A central emotional thread in the film is Hart's relationship with a young woman named Elizabeth, who represents both inspiration and heartbreak. She admires him deeply, seeing him as a mentor and artistic influence, but their relationship is unbalanced. Hart is in love with her, clinging to the hope that she might return his feelings, while she views him with affection and gratitude but not romantic desire. Their conversations are some of the most revealing in the film, as Elizabeth confides in Hart about her own romantic struggles, particularly her unrequited love for a young man who treats her carelessly. Through these exchanges, the film draws a parallel between their emotional experiences. Both are trapped in cycles of longing for people who cannot love them back. Elizabeth's story about her failed romantic encounter is especially significant. She describes in painful detail how her expectations of love and intimacy were shattered by a partner who was indifferent and emotionally absent. Hart listens with empathy, offering insight into the irrational nature of love, how people invest deeply in relationships that offer little in return. This conversation becomes a mirror for Hart's own feelings, as he realizes that his love for Elizabeth is similarly unreciprocated. When he finally asks her directly how she feels about him, her response is gentle but devastating: "She loves him, but not that way." This moment crystallizes the emotional core of the film, emphasizing themes of unfulfilled desire and the painful gap between affection and romantic love. Throughout the night, Hart also reflects on his identity and the rumors surrounding his personal life, including suggestions about his sexuality. When Elizabeth hesitantly brings up what her mother has implied, Hart responds with a poetic but evasive explanation, describing himself as drunk with beauty wherever he finds it. This line encapsulates his complex relationship with desire, suggesting that his emotional and romantic inclinations cannot be easily categorized. It also reinforces the idea that Hart's deepest connection is not to any one person but to beauty itself, whether in art, music, or fleeting human connections. Meanwhile, Rogers continues to celebrate the success of Oklahoma, with Hammerstein and others embodying the stability and forward momentum that Hart lacks. When Hart briefly reunites with Rogers, there is a mixture of affection, resentment, and unresolved tension. Hart congratulates him, sincerely acknowledging his talent and hard work, but also tries to rekindle their partnership by proposing new ideas. Rogers, while kind, is clearly moving on, and their exchange underscores the inevitability of their separation. As the night progresses, Hart's behavior becomes increasingly erratic. He drinks more heavily, jokes about his own decline, and masks his pain with humor. Yet beneath the surface there is a profound sense of loss, not just of his partnership with Rogers but of his place in the world. He feels superannuated, as he puts it, believing that his creative and personal life has entered its for worse phase. This self-awareness adds a tragic dimension to his character, as he recognizes his own downward trajectory but seems unable to change it. The film's title, Blue Moon, refers to the famous song written by Rogers and Hart, which becomes a symbolic thread throughout the story. The song's themes of loneliness, longing, and sudden transformative love mirror Hart's emotional state. In one scene, he reflects on how the song was originally rejected and later became one of their biggest hits, illustrating the unpredictable nature of success and the enduring power of their collaboration. The song also serves as a metaphor for Hart's life, filled with moments of brilliance and connection but ultimately marked by solitude. In the final moments, Hart is left alone, still clinging to hope that something might change, that Elizabeth might see him differently, that Rogers might return to him, that his creative spark might be reignited. Yet there is also a sense of acceptance as he continues to write, joke, and observe the world with the same sharp intelligence that made him great. The film does not offer a neat resolution, instead leaving the audience with a poignant portrait of an artist at a crossroads, caught between past glory and an uncertain future. Ultimately, Blue Moon is a meditation on love, creativity, and the passage of time. It explores how artistic partnerships can shape identities, how success can both elevate and isolate, and how the human heart often defies logic. Through Hart's story, the film captures the bittersweet reality of a life devoted to art, where moments of beauty and connection are fleeting but their impact lingers long after they are gone. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.